This morning, the two of us are going to be talking about early memory loss and specifically what we can do if a loved one of ours is showing signs of early memory loss. Um, we'll talk a little bit about the difference between changes that we see in normal aging, as well as some signs that something more serious might be going on, and we want to investigate and see a healthcare provider. And then we'll talk about really practical things that we can do for our friends or family. We often don't know how to help or what to do. We feel kind of stuck. And so I know I did, at least. And so we'll talk through that a little bit. First, we're going to talk a little bit about what is dementia. I mean, that's definitely one of the most common questions I get if I'm out doing a talk. What is Alzheimer's? What is dementia? Are they the same thing? Is one worse than the other? Kim, do you want to take us through this?
Yeah, I've been doing this a long time, and this continues to be a confounding question when I'm out in the community doing education. I even have families who will say to me, I'm so relieved. Mom doesn't have Alzheimer's disease. She has dementia. And so it's kind of a starting point for any discussion when I try to explain that Alzheimer's disease is a form of dementia. In fact, it is the most common form of dementing illnesses. And I think it's been estimated that it makes up about Melissa, do you think about 75% of the cases?
Anywhere from 60 to 80. I usually go with 70.
Right. And so while it is the most common form of dementia, there are other types of dementias as well. And so, really what we need for people to do when they suspect that there's something wrong is to go in and get a memory screen, get a thorough workup for dementia. And so the term dementia is just sort of a broad umbrella term that describes any type of progressive degenerative brain impairment that involves memory loss, changes in personality, behavior, judgment, and the ability to really take care of oneself. So if you think of dementia as an umbrella, underneath that umbrella, there are many different types of dementia, and you can see some of those other types there. So there's Lewy body, frontal temporal lobe dementia, Parkinson's associated with dementia, alcohol-related dementia. The list is long, but by far, Alzheimer's disease is number one.
Yeah, and this is, as you mentioned, a more simplified graphic. I kind of like it. We show the umbrella one often just to show how many different types there are, and there's over 100 different types. These are the progressive irreversible types on this slide, and they're the most common. We also often mention reversible types or pseudo dementias, things like depression or changes in medication or nutrition that could affect one's thinking. And that's why it's really important too to get a screening or a proper diagnosis, in fact, to rule out or rule in those things that may be treatable. And even if somebody has Alzheimer's and a thyroid condition and dementia, and we can treat the thyroid condition or dementia, the Alzheimer's we can't treat at this time, but those treatable things may improve cognition somewhat if somebody has multiple things going on.
Yeah, and it's complicated because there isn't one single clinical test that people can go to the doctor and get to determine whether or not there's a presence of dementia. And so, and I think, Melissa, don't you agree that people are kind of scared to just go and do that whole process of testing? So if we can just make a suggestion, if you're worried about yourself or a loved one, a starting point could be a simple memory screen, and we can do that for you. We offer free memory screenings, and we used to offer them face-to-face, and we're able to do them virtually now. And so you can sign up for a free screening and then take that, and if for some reason your results fall outside of the how would you put it,
expected range for your age?
Expected range for your age, then you can take those results to an assessment center or your doctor, If you need referrals, we can give you those, and then you can go through more extensive testing. It's just a starting point. And in fact, we recommend that for everyone of a certain age, just to have a baseline. Because, for all of us as we're aging, there are certain age-related changes that occur. And so I think it's really part of successful aging to have a memory screen and just to sort of know where you stand, don't you think?
Absolutely. And that's a perfect segue into the next few slides here, where we'll talk about some normal things that you can expect as we age, as our brains slow down a little bit. Just as our
Mhm.
bodies slow down a little bit as we age, our brains do the same thing. And that's normal and to be
Yep.
expected. And so we'll start with this one, memory loss that disrupts daily life. So memory loss in general. So normal aging would be occasionally forgetting a name or appointment. We all have those tip of the tongue moments. I know I do, where I'm
Yep.
forgetting either where I put something or who is that person's name or what is that word that I'm trying to think of. And oftentimes you'll remember it much later than when you actually need it. But that's pretty normal. We all have, moments like that throughout our week. Do you want to talk about what may be a more serious sign, Kim?
Sure. And I'm just kind of laughing to myself because I forget names and then I remember them later. And typically that is like 3 in the morning. I'll
Yeah.
wake up in bed and go, oh, yeah, that was, Melissa. And sorry, didn't mean to pick on you as an
No, that's
example.
fine.
But I mean, what's happening there is I'm still able to retrieve that name,
Right.
but my retrieval is delayed. But if I have dementia, then it's a little bit different. It means I've lost the ability to retrieve that name at all. So you see the difference there with normal aging. I might have a slowed or delayed ability to retrieve information, but if I have a dementia, then that means I'm not able to save information and retrieve it later. So, whereas occasionally forgetting names or appointments and remembering later is normal aging, if you're forgetting the dentist appointment that you've been reminded about like multiple times
Mhm.
in the same day, or asking for the same information repeatedly, that's an indication of a more serious problem. It could be an indication of a more serious problem.
Absolutely. So the next one here, challenges in planning or solving problems. So normal would be occasionally forgetting to pay a bill on time, similar to the last slide we talked about, that kind of occasional mishaps here and there.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, what about something a little more serious, Kim?
Right. And so we've worked with families where we've heard from the well spouse, and they've reported that, the mortgage hasn't been paid for several months, and they suddenly are receiving, a notice that the house is going to be foreclosed on. That's a dramatic example.
Right.
Um, or we hear from someone that, suddenly the wife is not able to prepare meals that she's prepared time and time again over the years. So things that used to be done by rote can't be
Hmm.
done anymore. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Difficulty completing familiar tasks. So normal sign of aging might be needing help to learn a new device, right? A new smartphone, something that we haven't had experience with before. There's lots of that probably going on right now with all the new technology we're all using as we all go virtual with our lives for this period of time. Zoom, Facebook, things like that. Things you haven't grown up with. What
Correct.
about more serious signs, Kim?
Right. So a more serious sign that there might be a dementia present would be if you're forgetting how to use a familiar device, uh, like the microwave or the stove, or what we see a lot, the remote, the
Mm.
TV remote, or you're getting lost going to familiar places like the supermarket.